Welcome back, everyone, to an exceptionally special episode of Water Polo Wednesday. It's been a tremendous season on both the men's and the women's side. Tonight, we're joined by the newly crowned champions. Ryan Neuschel, Jenna Flynn will join us from the Stanford Women's Water Polo program after they took down USC in the NCAA Women's Championship final. Congrats to them. We'll also preview the upcoming Senior Nationals men's tournament this next weekend, as well as a couple surprising nuggets we are excited to share. Join us for once again another amazing episode. We feel so fortunate to have all of you as fans and the guests who have joined us on this episode of Water Polo Wednesday.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Water Polo Wednesday with Wes and Clay. You're Wes.
You're Clay.
And if you're listening to this on Spotify, hit the like or the follow. If you're on YouTube, become a subscriber. Feel free to leave a comment. Send us an email inquiry or comment or message of whatever flavor at waterpolowednesday@gmail.com. This last weekend was quite an exciting one. We've had a lot of buildup over the last few weeks going into men's National League finals. And now finally it was the women's NCAA championship weekend.
Yeah.
We have a winner. Wes, walk us through it.
Yeah, we have a winner. It's a team everybody kind of felt this year, returning 5 Olympians in Stanford women's water polo. They lost one game all year, controlled just about every game they played in, except for the one that they did lose there, and seemed to, it didn't cruise, but certainly were authoritative, right? They did what they did, and they stuck to their guns. They played their game, and I mean, look, that's some impressive water polo. We'll dig into like kind of the whole thing, the end there in a bit, and why Stanford was pretty special. We'll also have a couple of guests on to join us right after our segment here. But yeah, Clay. So let's talk about the NCAA tournament for the women here. Where do we want to start? What do we think?
Yeah, let's go with the first rounds. Let's
Sure.
say what teams were in NCAA finals that maybe we didn't expect, and were there a couple of upsets leading into the quarterfinals, semis, and final?
Sure. I think what I loved about this was that there were a few matchups that didn't go. I mean, they ended up ending the way you thought they might, but the games themselves didn't. So Hawaii, which anytime you beat an MPSF team, you got to hang your hat. And so big shout out to James Robinson in his first ever NCAA tournament as a head coach, his first year as a head coach. Remember, they lost Bia Monalato, who was a Catino finalist, 2-time Big West Player of the Year. They win the Big West, and they beat Cal to go to the NCAA semifinals and take on Stanford. That's amazing. Coach of the Year. I realize that JT at Stanford has won his 1,000,000th title, right? But James Robinson, my opinion, Coach of the Year. Did far more, had far more question marks, had a tougher start to a season than any team I feel, and just loved what he did this year. Big fan. So they took down Cal. Not that I wanted to see Cal lose. I really like that Cal women's team. I got to call a game or two of theirs and very impressed with their play. They got a couple of very young, bright stars, and they're not going anywhere. And good for Hawaii. That's all I can say there. I was very impressed with them. Jordan Wedderburn, who we had on the podcast, was sensational. Clay, she was sensational. It was great to see her go out that way. Like, she has to feel pretty proud, right? Obviously, you don't ever want to end your career on a loss there, but sensational in the games that she did play. LMU took on UCLA. Now, this game did end up with UCLA winning. I saw a really funny comment on one of the posts. It was always going to be UCLA. It wasn't always going to be UCLA. There were a couple of possessions where LMU missed shots really they should have made. They either slipped out of their hand, they bar out. They were really good looks. And they make those, it's a completely different game. We're talking 2 possessions, Clay. Ruth Ariz, who's David's wife, who's a former LA Athletic Club guy, David Carrasco, now the head coach at LMU on the men's side. Ruth was phenomenal. And, I think what Ikaika has done there with that program. They lost to Fresno State in the finals last year, rebounded this year, and took that Gold Coast Conference. Good for them. I think he's figuring out how to win later in the season. It's a learned thing, as we know. Like, how people prepare for the end of the season is so different than how they prepare for the beginning.
Yeah.
They were pushing UCLA, like pushing them. And look, UCLA did not have their best weekend of play. I don't think they would argue with that at all. To me, it wasn't the best UCLA performance that I've seen. They do end up winning by 3. I think like Emma Linebeck was really, really good. She had 5 goals in that game, 5 of the team's 11. And Ruth Ariz, I think, had 6 of the team's 8, if memory serves. She had 5 of the team's 8. Carolina Magano had 3. So 2 players scored 8 goals. And I think where LMU fell a little bit short is maybe the depth, the ability to convert from other positions. And that's where, obviously, between Bia and Emma, there's 8 of their 11. So 2 players scored 8 goals for each team. UCLA might have had just a little bit more. Anna Pearson was very good in the middle. I think she had 5 earned exclusions. We talked about that last week. As she goes, so does UCLA, and they did, right? They were able to pull it out, but they just didn't look. LMU pushed them. I think they caught them a little off guard, and stunned them a bit for that first half. It was tied at half. LMU was down 1 going in the fourth quarter. This was not an easy win for UCLA. It was not as easy, I think, most people thought it would be. So you got Hawaii beating Cal. You got LMU really pushing UCLA. And then you had Harvard, who won their conference for the first time ever. Congrats to them. Coach Minnis, we had them on the podcast last week. Really impressed with Harvard women's water polo. I've known Ted Minnis a long time. He was my wife's first water polo coach. And that was...
Oh, I didn't know that.
That was 21 years ago.
Wow.
And so he's been in this game a long time. There's not a nicer guy, I'll be honest with you. Like, you just get the sense when you watch them play, you watch them warm up, and when you talk to them, that they're just a family over there at Harvard. He does a great job with culture. And so huge congrats to them. USC took it to them, as you do anticipate there. USC is very good, obviously. And so that's that first round, right? So you had USC, UCLA, Hawaii, and Stanford advancing.
Amazing. And then, as you said, we don't hope for a team to lose. What we want is good water polo, and we want underdogs to rise to the occasion, right? So like that doesn't even mean that like who should be the better team doesn't play to their level. We want both. We want everyone playing to their best. But it's just we want the drama. We want stories.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we want competitive water polo. I don't think a 23-3 game is. Nobody enjoys that.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. Even the team winning 23-3 at some point, they're just like, eh.
Yeah, I mean that's why people love March Madness, is that anything can happen, right? Like, that's the exciting part. And I think this last March Madness was one of like the most boring ones in like history. I saw a lot of news about that. I transparently don't watch a ton of March Madness, but I know we rely on Instagram sometimes for highlights, and there weren't a ton. But moving on to the semis, then we find ourselves in more maybe what we would have anticipated about the results of the weekend.
Yeah, things kind of went chalk. I had USC going to the finals, and they took care of business against UCLA. They were down 1 at half, so the first half was close. It was 6-7.
As it tends to be, that first half can be close in so many of these games. We saw this throughout season, throughout National League. Like, there's something about that first half, and there's really a clear differential going into that second half for these games.
It's a good observation, Clay.
Oh,
it really
thank
is.
You.
Yeah,
thank you.
It is because I noticed that too with UCLA on the men's side. Was that Adam would tinker with 3 or 4 different lines, see what's working best, and then would tighten up and probably go with 2 different lines in the second half. And that tend to kind of be the approach. I don't know if it's the same on the women's side. I didn't get to call as many women's game. I didn't call any. I called one UCLA game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't get to see them quite as much. But look, USC's been outstanding all year. Tilly Kearns had 5 goals against UCLA, and that's against Lauren Steele, who we're huge fans of. Like, Christine Carpenter at Stanford is outstanding. The goalie at Harvard I'm drawing a blank on her name now. But Orly Cooper, also outstanding. Lauren Steele to me is the bee's knees. Like she's really, really special in the cage. You watch her anticipation. It's really cool to see how well she reads the game. And it's like she's ahead of everything. And so that to put up 5 on her is something. Keep that ball, because that doesn't happen a lot. So USC put up a 7-1 third quarter, and at that point, I think they kind of like cruised and played more conservative for that fourth. I'm not saying it wasn't hard fought. UCLA kept going, 15-13 end of that game. Good game there. Good game to watch.
It ends at a 2-goal game, but like you said, a tone was set after the third there.
It's hard to go from up 1 to down 6 in a quarter.
I'd say so.
Yeah, down 5. Yeah. I think they're down 5 entering the fourth. Down 5 entering the fourth is, if you're USC, you're not thinking about scoring. You're thinking about conservation and getting ready for. Not that you're moving to the next day. I don't
like that strategy.
I don't either. I hate it. You watch basketball, slow it down.
The strategy was, but the numbers tell that story at least.
Yeah. Emma Lineback again had 5 goals. So she had 10 goals in 2 games.
Yeah.
And we called it out last week how good she is. I don't want to take anything away from anybody else on that team at all, but she's the lefty. Everything kind of runs through her, and she stepped up when she really had to. Anna Pearson drew 12 exclusions, Clay. 12. Which is a big part of why Emma Lineback has 5 goals. Because where you drop them from? You drop them from the 4, and then you got a lefty set up for the 6-on-5. But this is interesting to me. When USC beat Stanford this year, in the one time they did, Tilly Kearns at a center had a bunch of goals. In the 2 times USC lost to Stanford, Tilly Kearns drew a ton of exclusions. What does that tell you? Here we go. Anna Pearson, 12 exclusions drawn.
Here we go.
Anna Pearson, 12 exclusions drawn. Bia Monolato drew 3. Emma Lineback drew 3. That's 18 exclusions.
But what's the conversion?
Between 3 players, right? What is the conversion there? Well, UCLA goes 7 of 17, 41%. Not bad. USC went 8 of 11. They went 73%. You can't rely on your team going 73%. But what we're learning,
phenomenal ratio.
That's out of this world.
That's a championship.
Yeah, that's out of this world. I mean, that's out of this world. You can't rely on that being the case.
No.
And I think what we're seeing is that teams are going, you know what? And this reminds me of the Olympics in 2021, when teams would just, hey, take the exclusion on Halleck, just swim out, just early exclusion, go play 5-on-6. We're seeing that the teams that take the exclusions and don't give up the natural goals, okay, those are the ones that are winning. The teams that score natural goals, those are the ones that are winning. Okay? If you score natural goals, you're winning games. If you're taking exclusions, you're not in these big games. And to that point, Tilly Kearns, 5 goals out of center. 5 goals out of center. Why 5 goals out of center is better than 5 goals from a lefty, I don't know yet, but we're learning. Now, mind you, Tilly Kearns still drew 6 exclusions, but their conversion ratio was ridiculous. But they're getting more natural goals. And that's really cool. Really cool. Half more than, like, it's a 50-50 ratio for them. 7 goals. It looks like 8 goals power play, 1 penalty, 6 goals natural. So that's 15. It's just natural goals for whatever reason. So USC knocks off UCLA. Third quarter, they put the hurt on them, and then they go on to play Stanford in the finals.
Yep. And then the finals, a rematch against the only team that was able to beat Stanford this year. SC's got to believe in themselves that, like, hey, we've done it once before, we can do it again.
Yeah.
And it's the Stanford team.
So, I mean, Stanford was special all year. There's no denying that. Stanford was so good all year. Ryan Neuschel, a freak of nature. But I'll also say Ryan Neuschel, I think, is 24, 25 years old. And here's why this is, look, Stanford earned it. They were the best team all year. There was no question in my mind who was going to win it. I watched them play one game. It was very obvious. Nushel coming back from the Olympics. Romer coming back from the Olympics. Flynn coming back from the Olympics. Dalua coming back. Juliette Dalua coming back from the Olympics. I think there was one more who came back from the Olympics. Quinn Healy is on the national team circuit. She's trying to make the Olympics in 2028. They're loaded. So not surprising, but here's what's amazing to me. We talk about, why do our men or women struggle in the Olympics? Our men obviously took bronze. Our women didn't medal for the first time ever. A lot of that is because players aren't playing in our country into their prime athletic years. Now, look at how good Ryan Nushel is. She's 24, 25 years old. And she's playing against 17, 18, 19-year-old women. That's a big deal. I was benching
It's a big deal
twice
against
as
21,
much.
22-year-olds.
Correct.
Let alone 18-year-olds.
So you see that amount of experience, physical development, is a really big deal. And why the women struggled, we talked to Adam about this, was that every other country has women playing longer. And so the importance of a professional league, not just for men, but also for women, is paramount, because we need our women playing longer if we're going to have success at the Olympic professional level. And those two things are pretty hand in hand, because the women that are still playing, they're getting paid to play. And so that's what really stood out to me, was that these women who have this international experience coming together, they were very well coached. JT is a great water polo coach. I hear nothing but amazing things about him from his players, from his staff, from his alumni. I have so much respect for this guy. But these players were special, and they're playing into their physical primes. And the difference, and look, they're playing against Emily Osmus, who is a generational talent, 18-year-old generational talent. And they kept her to one goal. One goal. Emily Osmus is going to be probably the Olympics MVP in 2028 if she sticks with it. One goal. That's the difference. And so huge congratulations to Stanford. They were the best team all year. They took care of business against USC. They were up, it was 6-6 at half, and then second half, 5-1. 5-1 second half, a 4-1 fourth quarter, and they just put the hurt on them. I don't know if that's a depth thing. Both teams have a lot of depth. It's just really good finishing, clinical finishing, and knowing how to win, which is different. It's different in a championship. Winning in a championship is different mentally, physically, emotionally than it is winning other games. Yep, and that team knew how to win. And so huge congratulations to them. And to that point,
speaking of,
we are going to be joined by the aforementioned Jenna Flynn, and who I think is the best women's water polo player in a very long time, Ryan Nushel, right after this. Welcome back, everyone. As we talked about, we have two unbelievably special guests, the champs, Ryan Nushel, Jenna Flynn. Woo. You went from the Olympics to winning an NCAA championship. Are you guys just flying high right now? How are you guys feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. I think Jenna is as well. It's really fun. A little tired because we did have to fly back from Indiana at 4:45 a.m. But we've been enjoying ourselves a lot. Yes, and celebrating, hanging out. It's really nice to be back on campus.
Jenna, is it different for you? You're a little bit younger than Ryan. This is your second national title, Ryan. We're going to get to you. I got a lot of roses for you, Ryan. But Jenna, this is your second national title, which is two more than just about everybody in the world. Talk to us about how maybe this one was a little bit different than the last one. Now that you're a couple years older, you both had a gap year last year because of the Olympics. What has that been like? National title, Olympics, national title. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I feel really fortunate that I did get to take that year off. I feel like that just a year in general for me to grow, mature, and just the time itself was really helpful. But then you add in playing against such good competition, like pushing myself every day, physically, mentally in the game. I think that it made me so much better and so much more prepared for this past year. This team, Stanford team, was so amazing. I had so much fun. I feel like this year flew by. As fun as the tournament was and like winning, I just am honestly just sad to see this team kind of drift apart. Was super, super grateful to have another year with Ryan, even though she is a few years older than me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, like I think Ryan's a shining example of what's possible for our women in general in our sport and our men too. When you play into your mid to late 20s, right? Your body is different. Your mentality is different. Your experience is different. You can do things that maybe other people can't do because you're reading the game. And Ryan, I've had the joy of calling a couple of Stanford women's water polo games this year. It's really been an honor to watch your greatness in, like, I feel like I'm witnessing greatness, what you're able to do. I don't think I've ever seen a player on either side of the men's or women's game that is as versatile and excellent. I don't mean good. I mean elite at so many different things. You're obviously the younger sister. You had a great season. Talk to us about what that has been like for you and how you became you. I mean, look, I can go on and on here. You finished 5th all time in Stanford scoring. You basically are undefeated in national championships. You're 4-0. You might be the greatest ever to play the game on the women's side of it. What? Dude, what? Like,
all right, Ryan, you can talk now.
You can talk now. I'll go all day. I'm so floored and so enamored with what you have done. And I just feel very grateful that you're here. So thank you. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think it's all sinking in still because when you're, I'm sure Jenna can attest, like when you're playing, you're not thinking about, you're like, oh, I'm so at the top of my game. Like I'm so great. You're just like, I want to win this possession and I want to beat this team and I want to win this play, this moment. And then that just keeps going. And then by the end, you're like, well, we won a national championship after all of that. And even I think as a competitor, you play a game and you think, oh, this didn't go super well. Man, that's, you're hard on yourself. And I think that pushes you to be great, but it can be hard sometimes because you kind of have to you got to move on and let the game go. So I think for me, like Jenna said, coming off another year, a gap year, it was hard. It's always kind of hard to come back into the swing of things, but I didn't really experience that this year because this team was so fun and so easy to go into, and people like Jenna were here, and we've grown so much closer because we did have that year together last year, and it's just been fun to enjoy these relationships that have been built and then see how they really translate in the water. I feel like I had such a great connection with Jenna and with so many people because of the time we put in. And I for sure, like you said, I am 25, so I do have some experiential
Not late
advantage.
20s, 25. Okay.
Mid-20s.
25,
I said
okay?
mid to late,
Not
mid.
28, 25. So my dad was saying, you've seen the movie a few times. And some people just haven't really seen the movie yet, or they've seen the movie once, and you've gotten to see it many times. So you it's not that you know exactly what's next, but you have a good idea because you've seen this unfold. And I think that is definitely an advantage I had in a lot of the games and moments I was in is, hey, I've been here many times before, or I've been down 2 goals and I've won a game, so I don't need to freak out right now. And I think our whole team had an energy like that that really allowed us, as we experienced in the final, unfortunately, to go down and not start panicking because we had gone through that. So for me, I'm excited to rely on that. I'm also, honored to be considered one of the great women's water polo players. But for me, there's still more I would want. I want to go win an Olympic medal. There's so many incredible women who've done that. Maggie Steffens, my sisters, I mean, everyone in the U.S. women's water polo programs done so many incredible things. So for me, I'm like, I'm just kind of standing on their shoulders for sure.
Very humble of you. I totally disagree. I think you are one of the greatest, and you will. I have confidence in you that if you stick with it till 2028, I guess that maybe is Ryan Neuschel announcing, Clay. She's going for 2028. I think that's what that was.
I'm playing this summer with Jenna. Hopefully we'll be on the Singapore team. We have to go try out in a weekend, so we'll report back.
Good luck. Let us know how it goes.
Jenna, was this championship different than the first one? Was it hard? Was one of them harder than the other?
Harder, I wouldn't say harder. I think that they were for sure different. We had two very, very different teams. A
Yeah.
lot of different personalities, especially, it's hard to say, being a freshman for my first
Right.
championship, just because I definitely had a different role and different outlook on things and just like the people around me. But, playing with a center like Arya and then like an attacker like Ryan, like those were two really big, like huge powerhouse, water polo powerhouse families, players, like everything. So that definitely changed the dynamic of my freshman year's team and also that championship game. And then this team, I feel like was connected in a different way. We have a really big sophomore class, myself now included in that sophomore class. So I feel like the age spread, like obviously minus, except Brian doesn't count, but like I feel like we were all just a little bit closer. So I feel like we meshed a lot better, just like casually. And I feel like that really helped us in gameplay. So I think that there were two different teams. I wouldn't say one was harder than the other, but both two teams that I really, really enjoyed spending time with and playing with.
Yeah. Yeah. The Olympics, like going back to this last round, obviously we all want to win gold, silver, or bronze, and this is the first time that we haven't medaled in a minute. It's got to sting a little bit. I imagine maybe that had a little bit something to do with you guys perhaps pushing yourself a little bit more this season to lock down that championship. Does that ring true at all for you too?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like when you took so much time and energy with a group of people and you fall short, that's something that will sting and definitely not something that you can get over really easily. So at least I know, okay, I don't want to speak for Ryan, but I know Ryan well enough to know that she will do anything to win. And so I know that both of us were not happy with ourselves and just the outcome of that. So like that definitely pushed us and kept us on task and really focused for the season.
Ryan, when you guys had one loss this year to USC, you gave up a number of goals to Tilly Kearns in that game. You went back to the strategy of taking exclusions. The first time you beat them, you took a ton of exclusions. The third time when you played them, you beat them a second time, you took a ton of exclusions, and you basically locked down Tilly Kearns, right? Talk to us about what that was in that game when you did lose to USC. Was it, I mean, I doubt you panicked, but what was the reaction from the team, to not go undefeated at that point?
Yeah, I was a little sad, as you can imagine. I didn't feel like this team, and I'll still say I don't think we needed to lose to have hunger. I thought we were all very mature and able to understand, okay, winning is a privilege that we're going to push towards no matter what. But it's a water polo game and you lose one, and it's not the one in May. So our outlook was, okay, we lost it, and so be it. What do we learn from it? And to your point, that's what we learned. It's you got to play tough. And for me, you got to take exclusions, but I could feel all of us at moments in that game not moving on from mistakes. And that's honestly, in my experience, one of the biggest things that sport and water polo is you're going to mess up. I have a whole low light reel I could probably show from this season, and you have to be able to move on from things. And I could just feel us lingering on a goal from Tilly or a turnover and then letting that bleed into the next play. As a team, we kind of crumbled into that, and we fought back in a lot of moments in that duel match, but that was what killed us. And so my focus was, and all our focus was tactics, but mine was, hey, you fall down and you get back up again. And so that ball comes in a set, you take that exclusion. I've been there and I hate it, but you take it and you go to that box and you smile proudly because that's your job and you just saved the team from a goal, and now we have a chance to stop it. And I think instilling that mentality in our whole team's why we won in May is we all said, hey, you take pride in the dirty work and you move on to the next thing.
Somebody I will call out is Quinn Healy. And having watched her play, and she was on, we did a quick interview with her last week, but she does a lot of that dirty work. And she's part of that sophomore class that Jenna kind of referred to. That class is pretty special. And it's been a lot of fun as I've kind of gotten to know some of the women and watch you guys play. It has been really, really special to see. So the future is obviously very bright. I want to talk about a present player. You had an incredible transfer in Juliet come over, and the rich get richer, as though the three of y'all coming back from the Olympics, and Jewel and Jenna and Ryan, like, you get Juliet, another Olympian. Was it hard to integrate her into the team?
I would say, I mean, it's going to be hard to initially integrate anyone, but she is super sweet, super social. Like, it was after, just the initial meet and greet and like introduction to tactics, like what our team is. I think we meshed so well. She is a wonderful girl in and out of the pool. Having a lefty in there is always so exciting. Like, we welcomed her with open arms, and she was equally as excited to be here. So she honestly made it really easy.
Amazing. Yeah, she led the team in goals in the last game. She had 3 goals in that final. But based at looking at the box score and watching the game, it was, we need to shut down Ryan and Jenna, because Jenna, would you have 6 in the semifinal? And then Juliet rose up and did that. So obviously so many pieces here for you. Looking forward, Ryan, what are next steps for you?
Next steps for me, well, week by week, day by day. I got to graduate.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, I'm looking forward to playing this summer and seeing where that takes me. I'm thinking of definitely would like to go play in Europe for a year, whether that's Spain or Greece. I don't know. I think that will be a really fun way to develop my game, go play some different water polo than in the U.S. I love the U.S., but got to get out there if we want to be competitive on the international stage and get back into medal contention. And also, I'm thinking of going to medical school. I've done almost all the prereqs, so starting to build the foundation for that. Maybe apply MCAT if I have time, and who knows, maybe I'll be a doctor someday. I don't know.
Not ambitious at all. Let's win national championships. Let's go be a doctor. Love the initiative.
Believe in you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you're so inspiring, right? Like, you're just so inspiring. Jenna, what does next season look like for you? You guys, have you thought about it? Are you still in the haze of winning a championship?
I have to say, I'm still in the haze from winning the championship. I hate to say it. Obviously, like Ryan says, day by day, you can't linger on that stuff too long. But
it's Tuesday. It's
Tuesday.
It's
Exactly.
okay.
You can linger
really
on it
okay.
for a while.
Yes, we still have to. You have to celebrate the wins, not take the wins for granted.
Yeah.
Not. But of course, I'm excited for next year. Again, like we've talked about, having a strong sophomore class is really promising and exciting because it's really big and we have so much more time together. So that will be really good just to see how each of us grow in general. But I'm also really excited to welcome the new freshmen and see how things end up. New seniors taking new different roles on the team. Just every year comes with different challenges, but also a lot of great memories. And I'm along for the ride for sure. So I'm really excited to see how it turns out.
Ryan, you talked about in your loss, like, I think we can pin down what we did differently that wasn't really what we wanted to be part of our identity, like holding on to those mistakes. As you're departing, Jenna, and you guys are bringing up this new core of Stanford athletes, like, yes, you win a national championship, but, better, never best, as we like to say. So, like, what's on the precipice for Stanford now going forward that, hey, like, yeah, that's great, but we have so much more work to do? What's top of mind there?
Well, I think it's a question for Jenna because
Sorry, I meant to say
Jenna's
Jenna.
gonna be here.
I think I was looking at you, Ryan. I meant to
No,
say
you're
Jenna.
okay.
That's a hard one. I feel like Stanford, in my eyes, our core is always the same. We have the same values, the same just kind of principles we always follow. And something that I really appreciate is that the culture that JT and Susan create for us, it's something that allows each player to be themselves and kind of play their own game, flourish in their own way. And that's something that I have always been really appreciative of. So I think that question is difficult to answer because I think that it could go so many different ways and depends on who learns what, like what freshmen come up, so many different things can change that path that we will take next year. But I think it all starts from just like the core values of just like, you know what you bring to the table and accepting that and being authentic to yourself and being the best version of yourself you can be for the team.
Love it. Awesome. Ryan, who's the best neutral at water polo? I've been dying to
That's
ask.
a tough question.
Yeah, it's okay. They won't hold
I
it
think
against
it's
Ryan
I think
neutral. Ryan
Jenna
neutral.
gets to say that. I think that all of us bring something different. That will be my political question for
Christmas
sure. We
is
all
gonna
do
roll
something
around,
different.
and they're gonna be like, "Remember when
But
Ryan did something nice?"
Kylie's so incredible for
Yeah.
sure. I think I mean, look, her stats, like she's a four-time CIF Division One Player of the Year and champion. Then she won 3 national championships, and she won a gold medal. She has 3 world championships. I mean, she's of that generation. They're all so incredible.
Yeah.
But I'm competitive, I'm intense. And then I'm like, guys, you should hang out with Kylie for an afternoon because it's a wild ride. She's
You're like,
not
in our
giving
house,
up anything.
I'm
Yeah.
the mellow one.
I was like, yeah, actually, I'm bringing some light to this situation. But Kylie is the best, and I think she pushed me in so many ways. And I'm a different player than her. I would say I'm not as
Yeah.
pretty. I'm a little more of a bruiser than her. She can bruise though, but she's just makes the game really beautiful when she plays, and she has so much vision. And I think watching her play, and Jamie especially, watching how they pass the ball, their water polo mind is what I learned so much from them. And also just when you watch someone work hard, you want to work hard, and it becomes innate. And I think my family is that way. And so I'm just really grateful to have grown up in the family and culture that I have.
And Jenna, you've got an older sister as well, who's a standout at Cal in her final year. Unfortunately, didn't get through that quarterfinal matchup against Hawaii. But has she inspired you? Have you learned much from your older sisters? Older
Oh,
sister, excuse me.
of course, of course. My sister Nina is super, super competitive, super
Yeah.
fiery. I wouldn't necessarily say she makes the game look super pretty, but she gets the job done. She gets the job done. No, she would totally
Hey,
agree
that's
with me
okay.
when I said that.
Sometimes
Yeah,
you
she
just have to
definitely
get the
reacts.
job
Not a
done.
diss.
No,
Not a diss
exactly,
at all.
exactly.
Yeah, no.
Ugly is beautiful. That is something we say on this team, and it's very true.
See,
Ugly is
Wes?
beautiful.
It's gonna
Yes.
be okay.
So you call me ugly all day today, Clay? That was what I should feel good about this. Yeah.
You know, we can talk offline, but like, great message.
I love that. You guys, you both have been wonderful guests. Again, it's been really an honor to watch both of you compete this year, kind of firsthand up close, and get to know both of you. You're an inspiration to a lot of people out there, and so again, very grateful that you would choose to spend the evening with us and give us an interview after winning your national championship. We like to turn it over to you. This is a part of the segment we say, hey, the studio is yours. Right. Is there anything you would like to share? Jenna's going to go first. Ryan, you're the older one, so you're going to have to go second here. But Jenna, anything you would like to share? You can thank your parents. You can say, no, I don't care. Whatever. It's all yours.
Of course, I would take any opportunity to thank my parents. I would really like to thank Ryan as well. Now that she's on here, I know she's on here with me, but coming off of that win, it makes me really grateful for good leaders. And one of the best leaders I've ever had in my water polo career has been Ryan Neuschel. And that is something super special and something that I hope to take with me for the rest of my career and, kind of take a little bit and hopefully do my best to be a lot like her in that way. So I hope that everyone sees that the same way because she's been such a great role model for me and this entire team.
I bet you didn't think you were going to get that, Ryan. That was great. I'm like tearing up. That was incredible, Jenna.
You know what? When I'm having a bad day, I'm just gonna call FaceTime with this group right here. And just get gassed up here.
Yeah, because I wouldn't say that if it was not this very group.
Jenna would not say that. She'd be like, "Why are you calling me?" Anyways, what I would like to say is yes. Thank you to you both for hosting us and having this podcast. Like, this is awesome. Just excited to hopefully reach more young women's water polo players, get them to come to Stanford, get them to want to win national championships. We need that hunger in our sport, to keep it pushing it. And I will respond to Jenna by saying I'm so honored to be called a great leader by everyone, because you're not a great leader if people don't look at you and have that feeling and want to follow with your words and your actions. And I'm grateful to have gotten this time with you. And I'm so glad we got this extra year because, as Jenna did not say, we weren't exactly best friends the first year she came in. We were more business associates, and we've really worked
That's
into.
that's
Um,
code for Ryan did not like me my freshman
no,
year.
I loved Jenna. I still love Jenna. Um, I am grateful and I'm excited to see you be the next leader of Stanford Women's Water Polo and of your generation because you have that ability in you. And I got to see it from you this year. And there are moments where I was like, hey, this is a new leader rising and I'm excited to see it happen. So I love you. I'm really glad we got to win this year together.
By far the
Water
best
Polo
studio
Wednesday,
session.
bring it. Love is in
Just,
the air. Man,
whew,
I don't think
I'm
anything
getting hot,
tops
man.
that.
It's just unbelievable. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Jenna, for being on the show. Again, we appreciate it so much. You are always welcome back. Stop in anytime. Ryan, I'm probably going to bother you next women's season to help me a little bit with this. So
I'll pull out
stay
good
tuned.
interview questions for Jenna and
Oh,
others.
we'll grill her.
Yeah,
We'll grill her.
we'll
Really good.
really
Hey, I'll
get
be
to the
ready. I'll be
roots.
ready. Yeah.
Thank you both for joining us. We'll be right back after
Thank you
this
so
with more
much.
information coming up on Water Polo Wednesday.
Well, they are a bundle of joy.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciate having them on. Absolute superstars in the women's water polo community at the national team level and collegiate level, obviously, and some really insightful points there.
I feel so lucky, Clay. Like, so much gratitude for what we get to do and who we get to talk to. I mean, like,
Oh yeah,
these are big names in our sport, and this women's season we've had some great a lot of Olympians. We've had some great guests, and it's been really special. And like, obviously, great for Stanford. Love the interview. I've known Ryan now for a little bit. Obviously, we have, and Jenna, I'm still getting to know. But
clearly.
they're just great. I'm filled with joy, man. I'm filled with joy. I'm filled with gratitude, and just all the guests we have. So that's been amazing. Been a great end to the women's season, right? To have them on here and feel very special that we're able to kind of cap out the women's season with that. And so looking forward, Clay, what do we have? What do we got?
Well, we have this interesting bookend on the men's side of things. You know, we've had the men's spring season running in parallel with the women's collegiate season. National League finals happens. Really big weekend. Big news with Filipovic and Dennis Varga joining LA Athletic Club. But the season for the men isn't over. There's actually a final tournament. Don't ask me questions about the formatting for all of this, but there is another standalone tournament.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about this tournament, it's called Senior Nationals. It's really replacing what was known as Fisher Cup happening around this time. And Fisher Cup did used to be the pinnacle tournament of the men's game, period. If you won Fisher Cup, you were the best men's program in the country. The colleges were competing, the New York Athletic Clubs, the Olympic clubs, and it was a really big deal to win Fisher Cup. That's who was truly on top. And with this last season, basically National League has turned into an extended Fisher Cup, making National League the kind of paramount, competition for the spring, the pinnacle, right?
Yeah.
And so now we have Senior Nationals, which is kind of mirroring our championship weekend of National League finals, but with some different players and teams
And different teams
in the mix. So we are going to see a bit of a difference here. There is still a USA junior team competing as they prepare for the U20s, right?
There's 3 USA teams competing.
There's 3 USA teams. Okay, right. So that's what we have coming up this upcoming weekend. So now that the NCAA women's season has wrapped, this is the true final weekend of play for men's teams until the fall. So Wes, if you could run us through some brackets here.
Yeah, so Olympic Club will take the 1 seed because Mission, UCLA, USC, Cal, and Stanford aren't playing in this as really clubs. I'll touch on that Berkeley Club in a second. Olympic Club slides to the 1, LA Athletic Club slides to 2, Nyack to 3, and the USA junior team will then slide up to the 4. So as we mentioned, these are not the same teams. The junior team will have the UCLA players, Ryder, Bodie, Pete, and Ben Lathy will be part of that junior team. So in effect, that junior team is likely the team that is heading to Junior Worlds in Croatia in June next month, which I will be broadcasting play-by-play, all the English broadcasts. So excited for that. But that's the team you're going to want to watch. If you're interested in how our junior team is going to do, that team's loaded. Let me be very clear. That is not a normal 4 seed. And so, that may not be the exact team that goes, but it's pretty darn close. And so that's really special there. You'll notice there is no Mission or UCLA. There's no USC or Trojan. There's no LMU or CBU in this thing. There's no UCI or Anteater.
Channel Cats.
There's no Channel Cats in this. There is an alumni in Puerto Rico. Berkeley Water Polo Club is a makeup of some of the Cal guys and some of the Pacific guys. Nyack B entering a team there, and then USA Red and USA Blue. You do retain Riptide, Channel Islands, San Diego, and Long Beach, which are seeded according to their finish in National League. So that National League finishes and placing does influence where teams kind of end up here.
So they are tied in that way. Seeding does
seeding does matter.
National League. Yep.
And you've got USA Red and USA Blue. So you're going to have 3 USA teams. I think that's great. I think the more competition for our youth players, the better, especially against older men, as we talked about earlier on the show tonight, how important it is to play against people who are older, more talented, more physically developed than you are, because it makes you better. And I remember playing against Hannes when he was 15 years old. And so that, that's exciting. Like, this is good. I will call out LA Athletic Club is bringing Dennis Varga back. That is public news now as of last night. Dennis hit me up and said, job's not really done. And he was upset. He didn't play in the last game against Nyack for LA. He was upset that the team was unable to win against Olympic Club. And in the minds of every champion, you're really not, the job is really never done, right? Like there's always better, never best. And when I told Philip about Dennis coming back, he goes, that's why he's the greatest. That's Philip Filipovic, who's maybe the most decorated player in the world ever, saying, that's why Dennis Varga is the greatest. And I kind of laughed. I said, I thought you were. He goes, he's the greatest. Even though I think Philip beat Dennis more than Dennis beat Philip. So he'll be back. A couple other surprises on that LA Athletic Club roster. Be sure to check that out. I think for me, this is an exciting tournament. Again, a little weird because we just had National League Finals, and how do you value this? And it's just kind of a weekend warrior type tournament. It'll be good competition. All games are going to be on overnight. They'll be at UCSD. Games we played at UCSD. UCSD has been the host of Senior Nationals for some time. I think there was only 1 year in recent memory that they weren't, which is then at El Toro. I remember was like the only time it wasn't at UCSD.
There was one I played in that was at Berkeley, but typically it's just at a UCSD.
Yeah. So it's a pretty much a staple here. Come on out. Be great to see everybody. We can look at the schedule. Games are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Semifinals will be 3:50 p.m. on Saturday. And then finals will be 11:20. Excuse me. That's not right. Yeah. 11:30 a.m. Sunday. And the third place game will be 10:15 a.m. Sunday. So good set of games here. Good brackets. I don't think any game is really a gimme in any of these. You just don't know who everybody's going to have by the time this podcast gets published. I'm not sure that even the rosters will be out. I know LA Athletic Club released theirs last night. So exciting times, man. It's gotta love water polo. I wish we had a summer league. I wish this was a kickoff to like a summer league, a May, June, July, like summer league, like they have in Spain. But we don't. So one thing at a time.
Baby steps, right?
Baby steps.
Yeah, extending nationally to 5 weekends was a pretty big area of growth, as it was. So, like you said, Wes, there's no gimme games here. These are all very strong teams entering this, and I think there's going to be some holdover for how some games went in National League that are going to be remembered going into this weekend. Like you said, that USA junior team is going to be balling.
Yeah, they're good.
Very strong. They've been playing together. They have the same coach with Coker, right? And they're out to prove that they could win this thing for sure. likely to see Olympic Club in the semifinals. That'll be a very exciting game to see, and really fun to see alumni back in the mix. I
Gotta
didn't
love it.
expect to see Rigo bringing a team over here,
Yeah.
so I'm very curious to see what that team's going to look like. They've been a staple, and people know the Channel Cats these days. Basically, like Channel Cats when they didn't exist, like alumni was the other men's team powerhouse in these senior nationals, Fisher Cup, and National League for years.
Yeah.
And so now to have them back in, I'm really curious to see what the roster is going to look like, and I'm sure they'll bring it.
They do have a friend of mine who I was at his wedding, their goalie, Victor Noij, who's I think 3-time Olympian for Hungary.
Oh, he's coming back? Great.
And he's going to be in the goal for them. They've usually got, Rigo does a really nice job putting together very competitive teams. And he, a lot of UOP guys.
He's going to have some UOP Canadian Olympians, I'm sure.
I'm sure Royal will be playing with him. I imagine Jeremy Cote will play with him. Be interested to see if Bogdan Jurkovic comes back and plays with them. He just finished his season at UG. I know they wrapped up on Saturday. Not sure if he's going to come back and play. They're always good.
We might see a good number of Channel Cat fall off that weren't playing with Channel Cats this weekend, heading over to alumni.
Yeah, you could. And I'll give Rigo. I got to give some roses here. The last listen,
Rigo. Wes is giving roses.
I'm giving away some flowers here, man. I got to give him a little praise. Alumni won senior nationals 2017 and 2018.
Yep. Back to back.
They're the only club. Stanford won in 2019 with Ben Halleck, but they're the only club not named from a college or Nyack Olympic club that's won this, frankly, since 2013, and even going as far back to 2007. Newport won in 2012, and the rest has been basically Nyack, Bruin, Stanford, O Club.
Yeah.
Will it be the same? You don't know.
Find out. Let's find out. Show up on deck at UC San Diego or streaming live on overnight.com. It's overnight without the I.com all weekend long. Yeah. And that wraps up, I think, this segment of Wes. Any final words?
I'm looking forward to this weekend. And again, if you can tune into the Junior World Championships, we'll prep that again later. We've got a lot of exciting stuff coming up next week after we'll recap this tournament. But for now, life is short. Score goals. Have a great night, everybody.